let's moving on to EDC now. I'll start again. Kind of just, EDC had a little bit more tidbits, but
Yeah.
kind of just like John, EDC again was very, appreciative of the guys that were here and left. He loves talking about Joe Ortiz and just it seems like they're like kind of younger memories together because they kind of, were brought up with the Ravens. They've been with the Ravens since like 98, 96. I'm sorry. 98, yeah, 98. So he always likes to bring that up. And, that's cool. It just shows how, again, guys like Joe Ortiz and just past, staff, how much they meant to the Ravens. He also talked about, again, players like Gus, talked about Geno Stone. He didn't really seem too, committal or too, convincing on Geno Stone coming back. It
Mhm.
seemed like, he's, outpriced himself out of Baltimore. Um, he also talked about I believe he talked about Gus and JK. He didn't really seem committal with those guys either.
Committed, yeah.
So the only, yeah, yeah. So the only guy that I really noticed he was committed to bringing back, uh, obviously Matt BK. He
Right.
really he called him a valuable piece on the defense. So that's how that's like he's the Ravens' number one priority this offseason.
Right.
He also talked about
I had notes
it was
here if
kind
you
of
want me to
hard to
bring
hear
it
some
up.
reporters' questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What notes did you have? I'm kind of refreshing my head. So
Yeah, so
I
I took a
got
lot of notes.
Beaks and
Yeah, I took a
yeah,
lot of notes about EDC's presser, way more, information that came out between with his and Harbaugh's, I kind of want to go down the line, of where from when it started to when it ended. He did address the Zay Flowers situation very briefly, didn't really, talk about it a lot. He said that the Ravens put out a statement. They take, domestic violence very serious. So, it was he kind of left it at that. Um, he was surprised about the salary cap increase. I believe it was to 250 something $1 million when or
yeah.
more than that. When it was, not it was more than they expected, but he did say that they wouldn't go crazy on free agent spending, and please, and he's pleased with the salary cap increase and sees it helping this team, and future teams, and he's kind of excited to see how much the salary cap the league salary cap is going to continue to grow. So that bodes well for us, and makes our salary cap number a little bit higher, so I guess I want to ask you before we move on, like, are you kind of disappointed in a way that we're not going to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on free agency? Because I mean, but it's never really been the Ravens way, so it's just like, how do you feel about that? Are you excited? Are you like disappointed? Are you not surprised? But did you expect it, or would you want to see the Ravens go out and make some like many moves with the salary cap increase?
Um, honestly, I would. There's a lot. We do have a great team. But there's still a lot of holes that we have. I mean, running back is a big hole. I see a lot of people, talk about Derrick Henry, Saquon coming here.
Right.
I'm really not much of a fan of both of those options. I'd rather us, keep Keaton, maybe Justice Hill and get some guys in the draft. But I would like to see us go after free agents, go after a guy like Mike Evans, MPJ. Um, there was the guys like DJ Shark. I would like to see us go after free agents like that. Um, I would also like to see us, maybe there's, some guys like Xavier Howard, let's see what he would want to bring to the team. I feel like
Jerry Sneed.
he's a little bit more affordable. That's the thing. If you're looking at Xavier Howard and L'Jarius Sneed, I feel like L'Jarius Sneed is going to be a little bit too expensive for us.
Yeah.
So maybe got a guy like a Xavier Howard, pair him with Marlowe back there.
And Stevens,
that would
yeah.
be a great thing. And Stevens, that would be great. So I want us to be a little bit more aggressive. It seems like again, like how you mentioned, that's never really been the Ravens' way. So I'm not surprised about that. But I would like to see us spend out there. Um, so I'm just hoping that we have a great draft. I mean, there's a lot of depth in this year's draft,
Yeah.
really. So I'm hoping
I'm
that we
actually
can do it.
I'm actually kind of the opposite. There's a lot of guys I feel in this free agency class that can really be a cap issue in the future. We give them a multi-year deal where they just won't perform on our offense, or maybe won't be they may be too old for our defense, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm not interested in us throwing around money like the Jaguars did a few years ago, or the Bengals did a few years ago, where it's like, now we're in a cap situation where it's like, yeah, we're a little tight on the money, Well, I mean, the Bengals obviously had a lot of cap money this year, but one
Yeah,
big contract could knock that away, between T. Higgins, Chase, or whatever. But I'm not interested in this free agency class as much as maybe others are. The edge rushers are too expensive. The running backs are either too expensive or too old.
yeah,
Cornerbacks are really just these tag and trade guys who are only going to be here for 1 year, but those tags are very expensive, So, I'm not very interested in us going ahead and spending money like it's nobody's business. I want us to get the right guys. If they're depth pieces, that's fine. I know the Ravens need a lot of depth because we have the freaking bones and muscles of overcooked chicken. So it's like like to fall right off. So
yeah.
I just or slow cooked chicken, not overcooked. But I had to bring a food analogy. But no, in all seriousness though, like I'm not interested in us spending a whole bunch of money and then we're in cap hell in the next few years. It's just I'm not interested in that. So he did talk about I want to move on from that. He did talk about the Nelly extension. He says he thought he brought a lot as a player and as a leader. Happy for the extension, and both parties wanted a return. So I'm glad Nelly wanted to be back. It was like the first time in a while a receiver wanted to be back with us after a contract. So that's nice to hear, and it's true. Nelly did bring a lot to the table last year. One of the biggest moments that I can remember for him is not even a play, is where he decided to be a decoy in the Rams game that allowed Zay Flowers to score, the go ahead touchdown at the time, before the Rams went to go and tie the game. He noted something in the secondary, said he'd be a decoy to get Zay Flowers open. That's leadership. A guy who doesn't care about his stats, a guy who cares about winning, and that's truly admirable. That's truly admirable. So
Yeah.
if you got nothing to say about that, I'll move on to the next topic.
No, no, I know
Okay.
hit on the roll.
Um, like you had mentioned, he talked about Madubuike extension. He wants to get the deal done soon before the franchise tag needs to be placed. At the very end of the presser, a question was asked and about him possibly not extending, but franchise tagging Madubuike if an extension doesn't get done. He said probably yeah. So he's good. Madubuike is going to be here one way or another next year. I don't see him as a tag and trade because that tag and trade would be so detrimental for us. We'd have absolutely no interior pressure unless Travis Jones or Michael Pierce lose a few pounds. And Broderick Washington, lives up to his extension, but he's more of a run stuffer. So, need to keep Matabiki on the team. Like you said, he sang his praises as well. So maybe that bodes well for a contract. For contract talks. Like I went up here and said how much of a value are to this team. Like let's get this deal done. I think they have till like Monday or Tuesday before the franchise tag window needs to be applied. Something that kind of. And do you have anything to say about that, by the way? Before I move on. All right. Well, something that kind of not ticked me off, but kind of bothered me a little bit. I can see the vision, but at the same token, it's like we got to have certain production. He said he's happy with Oway's pressures and that
Oh, yeah.
the edge position, it's not always about sacks, it's about pressuring the quarterback. And, he, talked about how tough he was during the year and how many injuries he's battled through. I could agree in a certain extent, but if pressures is all you're bringing, there's a lot of quarterbacks in this league, especially elite quarterbacks, who can handle the pressure and step up in the pocket, roll out and make a play. Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, other quarterbacks in this league that you can think about that can roll out or step up in the pocket and make the throw. You know, Pressure is valuable up into a certain point, and you're going to need that pressure to turn into sacks eventually. We can't have a way having the most pressures in the league, but with 5 sacks. Like, no, you need to bring down the quarterback because that's when you get your money. That's when you become a game changer. That's when you become an elite edge rusher. Having pressures is step one to becoming an elite pass rusher. Getting sacks and getting home is number two. So, I mean, how did you feel about that? I personally didn't like that because I'm a guy who likes results.
So, to answer your question, I peeped that too, and I agree. I really didn't, I really wasn't okay with that either because I feel like in these press conferences, you'll see our head coaches, our GMs, they're going to take the high road a lot. They're not
Right.
really going to really be honest and really be in depth with these questions. And so
Right.
I feel like he took the high road. I feel like, he praised Odafe, which is good. He has his back, but let's just be honest. I don't feel like he's been exactly what the Ravens have hoped for.
Right.
Just like how you said, we want to see pressures, but we want to see results at the end of them. You know,
Right.
I can't think of, other Ravens free agents that they've brought in before that they brought pressure, but that's it. And it's
Right.
just like we want to see results. We want to see results. And these are high touted guys the Ravens brought in too. You know what I'm saying? And it's still the same. In the Chiefs game, we got pressure a lot. We got pressure on that play on fourth down. When he threw it to Kelsey and he caught it. There's pressure where he was running around and he just flicked it to Kelsey. We got pressure on
Right.
both of those plays. We didn't sack him. He still completed the pass, still moved the drive, still was a first down. So I peeped that too, like I said, and I wasn't happy with it either. We need to look for guys who are going to be like Madubuike, who are going to get
Right.
those sacks, who are going to be dogs and savages and just go after it. And
Right.
not saying that, Duffy isn't that, but we need to see these results out of him. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So I would like to see him get that breakout year. It's just like how me and you talked about before. It seems like when these guys are, on their last season or they didn't get that fifth year option pull, they want to start playing like all
Yeah.
stars and all pros. So, hopefully we get that out of Odafe, but it's definitely been kind of, underwhelming so far. And I wish that he kind of not trashed him, but maybe just approached the question a little bit better. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah,
So
like saying something along the lines like we appreciate the pressures, we can't wait to see results or something like that.
yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of singing praises and enabling mid. But anyways,
yeah.
the next topic he had brought up was talked about possible running back acquisitions. Didn't name a player, but obviously wasn't as pleased with only having two running backs on the roster at the moment, with one only being healthy. He is excited for Keaton and Justin. Talks for extensions for Gus and JK, and he's not thrilled with the running back class. In this upcoming NFL draft. So I think if any running back moves are made, it's definitely through free agency. Did you catch that too?
Yeah, I mean, and I remember he said there's going to be some acquisitions.
Right.
So, like we said in this video, and probably you guys are seeing it, on Instagram or Twitter, the Ravens are linked to, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. I
Henry.
almost said Dalvin Henry. Derrick Henry. So, we'll see how that plays out. Like me and Jared have said here, we're not really too thrilled with either of those moves. We feel like they're a lot of money and would take
Right.
up, cap space and just assets for other positions that are also in need. So,
Right.
we'll see what happens with the running back position. But he said there'll be acquisitions. That kind of makes me excited.
Yeah, me too, me too. I'd like Henry at the right price, by the way, but we can talk about that in another video. But these two kind of merge together. He says he values depth at wide receiver position, admits a deep wide receiver class, and will look at free agency as well. And OBJ as well. He talks about how they became great friends and talking about an extension possibly. He didn't really mention that, but he kind of alluded to it in a way. Um, you know, this wide receiver class is pretty deep this year. Obviously with the
Oh
top
yeah.
guys being like Harrison and Neighbors, guys we're probably not going to get. But the one guy from Texas we've been mocked to, Keon Coleman, Florida State, and others as well. What is the guy's name from Texas? Something Mitchell. I forgot his first name.
Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's also
So
Xavier Worthy. I saw too.
Xavier Worthy's also from Texas as well, I believe. I drafted him in Madden. He's pretty good. So I don't know if that I don't know if that means anything, but I'll live stream if you guys want to watch it. But if anyways, nobody wants to watch that. But anyways, this wide receiver class is deep, like I had mentioned. Me and TJ will go over here. After the combine's over, we'll talk about certain people we want on this team, at each position of need at the moment. You know, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Do you think OBJ's back? And would you even want him back at the right price to not get
Would want
opportunities?
OBJ back. I would. I really want OBJ back. I, I will die on the hill of saying we didn't give him enough opportunities. And I've said many times before, I don't see why other Ravens fans don't see that. And I
Right.
don't see why even guys like at PFF or ESPN, yeah, there were some times where he wasn't on the field, he might have got hurt. He still does have that, injury tendency, but when he was
Right.
on the field, he made plays. He was on the field the majority of the last games of the season. And I just feel like we didn't give him enough opportunities, for him to be touted as, Lamar Jackson's, finally Lamar Jackson's number one wide receiver. That's why I would love guys like Mike Evans, MPJ to come here, but I'm just worried the Ravens aren't going to go to them enough to make them satisfied being here. And same
Right.
thing with Derrick Henry. I mean, you can't get Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. Now, mind you, Saquon Barkley has actually been linked more to the Texans now. But anyway, let's just say that we do bring either of those guys in. Are we even going to go to them in the playoffs?
Right.
So I would love to see OBJ come back, but are we going to use him is that the question. Are we going to use
Right.
him correctly and give him more opportunities than 35 receptions? So yeah.
Right. Right. Probably not. But um, like you'd mentioned, he sang Gino's Gino Stone's praises, claims he's the best seventh round pick in Ravens history. Which I mean, that's I think that's a high praise. The Ravens have been a franchise for 20 years, but 7 round picks aren't notorious for being all right. So you know, I mean, he could have had like 2 picks and been the best seventh round pick, in Ravens history, So, but that's not to take away anything from him, So, but yeah, I think he probably priced himself out of Baltimore though with his, I believe he led the AFC in picks or was tied, So,
Oh
I
yeah,
guess we'll
he
see.
was a great year.
Yeah. So he praises the how much of this season was a success, praises the culture, the locker room culture and attitude. Definitely didn't seem happy when talking about this past season. Obviously would have probably been happier if we won the Super Bowl, but I think it's encouraging, that the locker room and the culture seems to be, fine. Especially after the last few seasons. Maybe it was a little bit shaky at times, but I
Mm.
guess we'll go over the report card in another video. Really talk about that in depth. To what the Ravens grade got for the locker room and other things. So you got anything to say about that one?
I look forward to making that report card video because there were some grades that actually there's some grades that actually stood out, like a lot. Like the traveling grade, it was like a C minus, C plus. What's up with that? Um I think the head coaching grade, we John coaching or head coaching grade, John got a B plus. So, you know, actually I'll save this question for that video, but I just had some kind of questions and concerns about that. But that's gonna be a
Mhm.
fun video, I'll say.
Right. And the last point that EDC had brought up was he wants to have big and imposing offensive linemen. Talks about O line change and admits it's a deep online offensive line draft. Wants to build the best O line possible, obviously, But you know, like Harbaugh had mentioned, him and EDC have been talking about how deep this offensive lineman draft class is and how this is really much of a retooling process to build this offensive line back up to maybe 2019 form or even better. So I mean, I'm excited to see what this offensive line is going to be. I think some of the guys
Yeah.
who are for sure going to be on this team next year, offensive line wise, they're obviously Leonard Baum. I think Stanley's going to be back. Moses, I think the tackles are going to be back. They might draft a tackle late in the rounds, maybe one or two, to maybe be the replacement for both of them or one of them at least, and develop them over the years up until they're both gone. I think the guard position is what was going to be needed to be focused on the most probably. Because I like I said, I don't think Ronnie Stanley's leaving. If I had to be honest, I think I'd like him to leave, but I think that would just cause too many problems, for this organization, you know, and I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I'm excited to see what they do in the draft with the offensive lineman too. There's this guy, I think his name is Faltanu. I'm not pretty sure about his first
From
name, but
Washington?
yeah,
I think
I,
it's from
I
Washington, yeah.
saw, the Ravens. Yeah, I saw the Ravens could be interested in him. He's a little bit undersized for, a lineman. I've heard he
Mm.
could be put at guard, but we'll see about that. But we need to build a mountain around Lamar.
Yeah.
We need to not have the first two halves of the Texans game happen again.
Right.
And we need to protect him.
Yeah.
And obviously that's just one piece of the puzzle because we need to retool those receivers and running backs too. But that's where it all starts, the O line. So
Right.
you know
And
we
I'm
have to
glad
just
they're
see what we
taking it
do.
seriously. I'm glad they're taking it seriously, and how
Oh
much,
yeah,
time and effort they're putting into this offensive lineman stock, because I mean, truly, Harbaugh, you said, you win the battle in the trenches, and it's true. How many times over this year I said that, we got to dominate the trenches to win this game, in certain games we did that, certain games we didn't, so like there can't be this flip flop of games where it's like, oh, we'll have pressure, we'll have no pressure in certain games, like the Lions game, but then they'll just break right through like how they want in the first half of the Texans playoff game, and then all the Chiefs games it felt like, so it's just like we can't have that. Like we can't have our
yeah,
offensive line show any glaring weaknesses, so I'm glad that they're taking it seriously. It's making me excited that they're taking it seriously, and no, that's all the EDC notes in this press conference, in his NFL Combine press conference.
yeah. And we covered John pretty well. He doesn't really say much, but you know I think overall it was a pretty decent press conference. Obviously, they'll talk more, especially, before and after the draft and,
Right,
during the preseason. So,
right,
I'm just excited to see, how we can get back to AFC Championship form. And even if we can, I'm excited to see the moves we make. And it all
right,
starts right now.
right.
So, hopefully it's a great off season for us. But
Yep,
I think that's all we have, for both guys.
yep,
Yep. So that's all we got for you guys in this video today. A little late video, but we just wanted to get it out to you guys. We're hoping that you're enjoying the content. We're hoping that you're enjoying the roller coaster of the Ravens, off season so far. But we both believe it's going to get better. So we're going to enjoy it. I'm putting it out there right now. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy draft time. We're going to enjoy when it comes to the schedule releasing. We're going to enjoy preseason. We're going to enjoy the season because it's going to be our Super Bowl season this time. So I believe all of that. I know you do too. You're not showing it on your face. Oh, come on. I know you believe it. He believes it. But that's all we got for you guys today. We're TJ and Jared, Birds of Play Sports. Make sure you check out our social medias. Make sure you check out our other channel, Casual Cinema, and we're out.
right.